Hey folks, welcome to the Leeds Gamer. I've decided to do this a couple of matches before the end of the season, but I don't think that in the space of 2 games that we would get much more out of the current squad to kind of make me change my mind on certain players really. So anyway, just before I get into the video, do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, please give the video a like and also hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any future content. So, my team of the season, my first 11. The 11 that I think has kicked butt this season in the Premier League for Leeds United. I'll go through my decision because there's going to be a couple of controversial choices in there, and I will also explain then a little bit about the players that have missed out and what that missing out column kind of means in terms of how I've laid it out. It'll make sense as we go along. So, starting with the players that have made the first 11. Starting with Carl Darlow. Since becoming the number one, taking over from Lucas Perry, he's been our best goalkeeper this season, I think. Certainly in the Premier League. Come up with some crucial saves at crucial times. Hasn't made a vast amount of errors when he's played. And a couple of saves really have been superb, like really good, world class saves really. And he's definitely done well this season. In previous seasons when he's kind of come in, I've not been that keen on Darlow. He's made a couple of silly errors for a player of his experience, but this season he's definitely stepped up. Moving on to the back three, gone with Joe Rodon, Jakob Jol and Pascal Strout. I really like this back three. They're really good. Like as a defensive unit, these three are a human brick wall. Very rarely let anything get by them. And all three of them have been superb. Joe and Pascal have both stepped up from the Championship into the Premier League with Leeds this season and done a great job. And Jakob Jol's come in from Udinese, and you know he's pocketed so many opposition number 9s this season. He's been superb. So yeah, the three of them are just really good as a defensive unit. They really are. Moving on to the wing backs, Jayden Bogle, right wing back, really good season for Jayden. He's looked very good at times, hasn't he? And crucially has improved his defensive capabilities. There was never a doubt about how effective he was going forward, but defensively sometimes he could be caught out a little bit. But he's definitely improved that side of his game this season, and yeah, he's been really good. Gabby Gudmundsson, I selected him as the so-called man of the match on lineup builder, but there isn't any indication on the graphic to say that he's been given man of the match. But in essence, what I mean by that is player of the season. What a debut season for Gabby. For me, one of the best left backs in the Premier League, let alone Leeds. Been that good. The only thing missing from Gabby's game has been goals and assists. But other than that, he's just super consistent. Got a good engine on him. He gets up and down that wing really well. Defensively very sound. Gets some wicked crosses into the box. How he's not ended up with more goals and assists, I've no idea. But he's just been such a good player. And for 11 million, it's a bloody bargain. Moving on to the midfield, Captain Ethan Ampadu, he's improved so much this season, hasn't he? His leadership, his maturity on the pitch, and his all-round game just dramatically improved. Some football professionals have said that he's one of the best defensive central midfielders in the Premier League, which again outlines how good he's been. Just excellent. Really, really good season for him. And partnering him in midfield, Anton Stack, what a debut season for him as well. Very close to knocking Gabby off the top spot for me. Anton's been superb. The goals and assists that he's contributed to, just his all-round game, the fact that he can attack, he can defend, he can pass, he can head, he can take set pieces. He's got a little bit of everything, hasn't he? And at 6'4", he's an absolute unit. Superb debut season for Anton. Just moving up from that, I've kind of put Noah in the 10 position, if you like, but with lineup builder, it's a little difficult to kind of get players exactly where you want to position them. But effectively, Noah Okafor, most effective on the left wing, but cutting inside and then kind of playing as a 10 and sometimes as a second striker. Attacking central midfield or second striker. Anyway, the point being is that he's had a run of form towards the end of the season that has really helped us get to safety. He had a quiet patch. There's no doubt, and he's had his injuries. But when he's been fit, he's a difference maker. You can just see, and as the season's gone on, he's improved his defensive capability as well. He was a little bit suspect with the tracking back and defending, but as a creative outlet, really good. And his goals and assists this season have definitely helped us, in terms of staying up. He's currently on 8 goals and 1 assist. But he's got that in just 1,570 minutes, equating to 19 starts and 9 sub-apps. It's a good return, is that? It really is. For a player that's not a natural striker, like an actual number 9 or anything. It really is pretty good. Again, just touching on Anton Stack, he's got 5 goals and 3 assists in 2,305 minutes, which equates to 27 starts and 1 sub-app. Just really good stuff. And then I've gone with the front two. Now, this is probably the most controversial player to get on this list in the best 11 of the season, and that's Lucas Mecha. Partially because he's not actually played that much, but his return for what he has played, and how he's played in games where he hasn't scored or assisted, he just looks really effective. He's got a very unique style to him. But when played as a striker, he's very useful. And on the odd occasion where Lucas Mecha and Dominic Calvert-Lewin have played up front together, they look lethal. Like they're such an effective partnership, causing defences problems, which is why that's why I've kind of put him in this. It's kind of like a 5-3-2 according to lineup builder anyway. Lucas Mecha, his return so far has been 6 goals and 1 assist in just 955 minutes. That's equating to 9 starts and 20 sub-apps. The thing to take into account with sub-apps is that obviously they can range from being 1 minute to a full half, or pretty much. So that's why I've put Lucas in there, and then finally DCL, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Again, apologies for how Gabby Gudmundsson and DCL's names have been typed. Lineup builder has a limit to the number of letters, so I've just taken the vowels out. You can tell who they are anyway. Yeah, Dom, really good. For a player who came in, and again, similar to Lucas Metcher, they came in with a bit of an injury history. Well, DCL's not shown much of an injury history. He's hardly missed this season. DCL this season has played 2,571 minutes, totaling 28 starts and 5 sub-apps. That's not a player who's been injured that much. It's excellent. And he's been able to bag so far 13 goals and 1 assist. Not bloody bad for a number 9, a free transfer number 9, is it? And as things stand at the moment, when you put Dom and Lucas's stats together, you've currently got 19 goals and 2 assists between the two of them, and there were a pair of free transfers. That ain't bad, and there's still 2 more games for that to improve. So yeah, bring it on. So a really good 11 that. They've done excellent. They really have. So going on to the missing out column. Now I've included every senior player that's been named in the squad at some point, kind of thing. The players at the top are the ones that just narrowly missed out, going down to the ones that didn't really stand a chance of getting in this 11. So, starting with Brendan Aronson, he's unlucky. It was a choice between kind of Brendan, Lucas, and Noah. I had to kind of decide, how I was going to do the formation and then how, who was going to make the 11 out of those guys. Brendan just narrowly misses out. He's had a good G&A. He's got, currently got 4 goals and 5 assists. But it's taken him a bit longer to get those, in a sense of 2,322 minutes, equating to 28 starts and 7 sub-apps. Still a very good season for Brendan, and could quite easily have got in this 11. But I didn't want to play with one up front and then have both Noah and Brendan just behind. I just don't like the formation. So there you go. But yeah, a very solid season for Brendan, and very close between him and Noah. Brendan's work rate and unstoppable engine, he hardly gets tired in a match. He's just keeps working so damn hard, doesn't he? Which is really commendable. And yeah, good season for Brendan. Just narrowly misses out on the 11. James Justin, a player who was bought for £8 million as a backup. His versatility has been superb, hasn't it? And I think it's maybe just that versatility that actually goes against him in getting in this 11. I don't think he's done better than the 3 centre backs, and I don't think he's done better than the 2 wing backs. But he hasn't been far off it, And his versatility really has been very useful. He's made 19 starts and 8 sub-apps, totaling 1,717 minutes as of recording, with 2 goals and 1 assist. It's a good return for a player who was, Christ, Leicester City reckon that he were crap. How they could have done with James Justin this season. But JJ has been far from bloody crap. He's been really good, and just narrowly misses out because the back 5 have just been that good. But James hasn't been far off it at all. Then I've gone with Lucas Perry. Now, you could argue that maybe Ilya, Au and Sean have had better seasons than Lucas. There wasn't a lot in it between the other 4 here, to be honest. But Lucas had some very good showings in the FA Cup, which really helped us to have a good cup run. And not all of his Premier League appearances were bad. He just had an adaptation period. But there were some good performances there from Lucas, and I'm hopeful. I just hope that he's able to take this season on as experience and then have a really good season next season. We don't want to have to be splashing 20 to 30 million on a new goalkeeper one season after we spent 15 on him. We're definitely going to need at least one, if not two more goalkeepers, because obviously, the other three senior keepers are all out of contract. I would imagine Caldalo will get a new 1 year extension, but Illy certainly won't, I don't think. And Alex Cairns, he's kind of, his role's a bit different in the squad. He actually made it clear. Him and Sam Byron made it very clear on the Leeds United podcast just a day or two ago about how their roles are in the squad. And, it makes sense now when you look at it. But yeah, from a perspective of, kind of listing these players in terms of how close they were to the making this 11, I just think Carl's just had a better season than Lucas. But in terms of the order of the players missing out, I don't think Lucas has had a bad season by any stretch of the imagination. Just a handful of errors that have basically made him lose his place in the starting 11. But he made 16 starts, so he's contributed to the season. But unfortunately, a lot of those starts were in that period before before the first Man City game. So take it as you want to. After that, Ilya Gruev. I've put Ilya just slightly ahead of Au and Sean. Again, not a right lot in it. Ilya, you know what you get with Ilya Gruev. He's actually got 3 assists to his name this season. And he's done that in just 15 starts and 8 sub-apps, totaling 1,325 minutes. But when he's played, pretty reliable. He hasn't done a lot wrong when he's played, has he? He's just a very decent defensive central midfielder. And ultimately, when he has contributed, he's done all right. He really has. He's just not done enough to get ahead of the likes of Ethan Ampadu and Anton Stack. It's that simple. Altanaka, again, he's had his moments, hasn't he? But again, his game time has been very split between starts and sub-apps. 12 starts, 14 sub-apps. He's got a couple of goals to his name. I think there's just been a little bit, some of the times where he's just seemed a bit off it. And I think he doubts himself, he doubts his own ability. And unfortunately, that's kind of contributed to him having a decent season. These guys haven't had a bad season. They're just, just some of them not as good as the ones in that first 11, in my humble opinion. Sean Longstaff, yes, similar situation to Altanaka, really. Just not as much game time. 976 minutes. He's not even quite reached 1,000 yet. And again, similarly, he's had 10 starts and 12 sub-apps. But he's popped up with a couple of goals and a couple of assists. And both of those goals were against Bournemouth, ironically. And he came very close against who we've just played, Tottenham, didn't he, as well? So yeah, he's had his injuries this season, so I think that Altanaka's maybe contributed a little more, certainly time-wise and whatnot. But not too much to separate. Then there's a bit of a cut-off. Wilfred Gnonto, he's only been able to make 475 minutes of game time this season. 4 starts, 17 sub-apps, and it's not enough to get into a first 11 of the season, is it? He's got just 1 assist to his name. When he has come on, there's been times where he's looked very decent, very, very decent. But if you were to compare him to the nearest player, the nearest comparison that's got into the team of the season, in my opinion, would be like Noah Okafor, who, has been better than Willie Gnonto this season. I don't think many would argue that. But as I say, he's certainly got himself about, when he has played, but it's just such a limited amount of game time. 475 minutes, isn't it? 1 minute less is Dan James. I put Sebastian Bourne now between the two of them, actually. So I'll just go onto Seb first. Seb's had his injuries this season. When he's played, he's never let us down. He's looked very decent indeed as a centre back, and he's been able to incorporate himself in that back three quite nicely, and genuinely hasn't done much wrong. But he's only had 4 starts and 6 sub-apps totaling 342 minutes. He's not been on the same level as the other guys, and as I say, I think injuries have played a big part in that. Dan James, as I say, 1 minute less than Willie Nonto. He's had 1 more start, but 5 less sub-apps. No goals or assists to his name. It's been a difficult season for Dan, hasn't it? Just too many injuries, by and large. That's all I can put it down to, really. Then the final cut-off. These guys have just barely featured, if at all, and so I'll keep this very brief. Sam Byram, he mentions it on the podcast as to what his role has kind of been this season, and he's only played 7 minutes of football. Didn't let us down in those 7 minutes, from what I can remember. I can barely remember it, but I don't remember him doing any howlers or anything like that. Joel Perreault, he's a bit different. He's had a little bit of game time in comparison. He's had 218 minutes, but it's only been 2 starts and 12 sub-apps. He hasn't got a goal or an assist to his name. And one of the primary things for Joel Perreault when he comes on is to either score or assist. That's why he's down where he is on this list. Facundo Buonanotte, it's just not worked out for him with that loan spell, has it? 24 minutes from 2 sub-apps. Absolutely pointless loan, wasn't it, really, unfortunately. He's a young player. I'm not going to be too critical on him, but he arrived at Leeds not fully fit by any stretch of the imagination. No goals or assists from a guy that's supposed to be a creative playmaker. I mean, with a full pre-season, he might be a decent player for somebody. But he's only 21-year-old, so I'm not going to criticise the kid too much. Jack Harrison, what can you say? He hasn't had any goals or assists. He's had 1 start, which was pretty bad, but he was playing wing back, which is not his position. And 10 sub-apps totaling 264 minutes. Got himself a loan to Fiorentina halfway through the season. I don't think there was a lack of effort from him. In those appearances that he made, I don't think there was a lack of effort. He's just not the player he used to be. Simple as. He used to be a pretty good winger, but he's had a bunch of really poor seasons now. And that's how it is for him, really. And then the 2 backup goalkeepers, Illy Meslier and Alex Cairns, you could have put those 2 in either order, really. But again, the two of them have helped the under-21s. So they've been a good influence on the young players coming through, and ultimately, they've always put effort in training. When you watch the training videos, there's no sign that either of them have been slacking or anything like that. Even Illan, who would have liked to have gotten game time, with him still being in his mid-20s, he hasn't sulked about it. He's got on with it, and hasn't caused any problems. But there's been 0 game time in the Premier League or even the domestic cups for Illy Meslier and Alex Cairns. I think Meslier might have made the bench a couple of times, possibly. I don't know. I might be wrong on that, but yeah. Otherwise, that's it. That's the entire senior squad for this season. As I say, a couple of games remaining. If a couple of players really stand out, maybe they could have squeezed themselves in at the last minute, but I kind of doubt it. So yeah, there we have it, folks. That is my Leeds United 11 of the season. Do please put your thoughts in the comments down below. Please be nice. But if there's any players that you would have switched, I'm thinking that some of you might put Brendan in instead of Lucas, for example. A couple of you might put James in instead of any of the back 3 or even any of the 2 wing backs, maybe. Maybe Ilya comes in midfield, or Al, or Sean for that matter. Maybe you go with a different formation and you use Wilfred and Dan. I don't know. Maybe Seb gets in there. I don't know. But that's for you guys to decide. There's no right or wrong answer, really. It's just your opinion, isn't it? But yeah, put your thoughts on the lineup and the reasons for those missing out in the comments down below. Do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, please like the video and hype it if it lets you. And please hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. But I'll leave it there, folks. Big thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.